In this video, we're going to go over the coaching points for cars for upper limb. We're going to start with your shoulder blades. So for the shoulder blade cars, you're going to keep your hands on your sides. Your hands are allowed to travel up and down as you elevate and depress your scapula, but what we don't want to happen is to have your hands come off your legs. We also don't want your elbows to bend, and we also don't want this upper arm bone to roll at all. So if you see anything rolling while you're doing your scap cars, technically that is a coupling of the shoulder joint, and we're trying to do complete isolation, so just specific to the shoulder blade itself. So if you were to draw an X on the front of your bicep, that would stay pointing in the same direction the whole time. And again, just try to limit any elbow bending or hands popping off the legs. So we're going to start by bringing the shoulder blades forward, up, back, and down. Again, keep trying to check that bicep. Might be really helpful to do these in the mirror for a little while, just so that you can kind of see if there's any actual compensation going. So we do 2 that way, and then we're going to go 2 in reverse. Back, up, forward and down, back, up, forward and down. That's shoulder blades. Moving on to the shoulder, we're going to start by externally rotating the shoulder. And so we don't just want the hand to go, we want this whole bone to rotate as much as possible, all the way to the outside without any side bending. So again, no spine coupling. So if we get any bending, any rotation at all while we're doing our shoulder cars, we're getting a coupling with the back. And so essentially what that means is that your shoulder can't quite do shoulder stuff when you ask it to. Your shoulder is borrowing from your back, it's borrowing from your shoulder blade, it's borrowing from your spine. So we want to limit that as much as possible. We want to ask the shoulder to perform a specific task and see that it can do it. So we're going to start with that external rotation. You're going to keep your elbow nice and straight, keep your hand and fingers nice and straight. Maintaining that external rotation and a little bit of tension throughout the body, you're going to cross the front of the body. You want to cross as far as you can without rotating, and you want to cross as far as you can without too much scap protraction. So as we go forward here, you're going to continue that adduction all the way up into your very best shoulder flexion. So shoulder flexion is straight over the shoulder with a nice straight elbow. Again, don't let that bend. Don't let your shoulder blade elevate. And you want the arm to go back basically as far as it can in that straight line. Once you max out that point, we're going to start smooth, continuous internal rotation. So we're going to travel from flexion to extension. Extension is straight behind your hip. So we want to max out extension, maxing out flexion, traveling to that point. While we travel from flexion to extension, we're going to have continuous internal rotation of the shoulder. So that looks like this as it goes back. So you want to make sure that you're ending at full height straight behind the hip, not out here somewhere, back in extension. And we want to make sure that that rotation is continuous. So we don't want you to sort of stick and glide at any point, stick and glide. We want to fill up that position, that transition, with smooth rotation. Continuous, smooth rotation. Okay? So let's take it from the beginning again. You're going to externally rotate, cross the front of the body, keep going, max out flexion. Start smooth, continuous, full internal rotation, all the way back to full extension. Come all the way down to the hip. Unrotate the arm. We're going to re-rotate. We're going to go to the back this time. So you're going to internally rotate. Again, try to get this bicep to tuck in as far as it can next to your rib cage. You're going to go to your full extension. Again, make sure that you are right behind the hip. Make sure that you're not elevating the shoulder blade. And then we're going to start to rotate in the opposite way. External rotation all the way back up to full flexion. So this one might be a little bit harder for some of you. Just be really cautious that we're not doing this as we go up and around, okay? We don't want to dance around the shoulder with the shoulder blade. We want to figure out what you've got for a shoulder. So that might not look anything like my shoulder. We're essentially tracing the shape of your own shoulder capsule. So like I said in the CARs explanation, we want to avoid any closing angle joint pain while we're doing our CARs. Stretching pain, like this is like stretchy, that's okay. But if you're feeling like pinching pain, closing angle pain, not good. So we want to kind of move outside of that, wherever your pain-free range of motion is. Okay, so One more each way. You're going to externally rotate, across the front of the body, max out flexion, continuous internal rotation, unwind the arm. Wind it back up internally, thumb should point straight back, maxing out extension. Smooth, continuous external rotation to flexion, continuing external rotation with a nice straight arm into adduction and back down. Okay, we'll move a little bit faster on the other side. Again, it might be really helpful to check yourself out in the mirror, but if you don't have a mirror for reference, you can kind of watch your chest. That's going to give you a good idea if you're rotating while you're doing these CARs. So externally rotating, tension throughout the body, max out flexion, smooth continuous internal rotation on the way back. Watch that shoulder blade elevation, watch the chest. So make sure you're not turning here. It's very, people really want to turn and pretend that they can reach farther behind them than they can. Whatever you've got is whatever you've got. That's also how we assess and diagnose what you have, is by being able to see, can I actually do this? Okay. Internally rotate, pull it back up straight, smooth continuous external rotation, returning to maximal flexion, crossing the front of the body, presenting that elbow forward in external rotation. Good. All right, so we're gonna move on to elbows next. For your elbows, you're gonna pin your upper arm bones into your rib cage. Really, really pin them in. So they're not going to be, we're not rotating from the shoulder. We're trying to keep that neutral position here. And then you're gonna rotate out from the elbow down, starting with straight elbows. Once you kind of max out that external rotation, you're gonna start to bend your elbows, continuing to externally rotate. So make sure we're not out here because that's shoulder. You're gonna bend them as far as you can, and then you're gonna pin this pinky in space. So this pinky is not gonna move out, it's gonna stay where it is. We're gonna move the thumbs to the inside of the pinky. Maximal internal rotation, pushing down, externally rotating. Again, the pinky pins, the thumbs go to the outside of the pinky. Bend maximally, internally rotate. Good. Now we're gonna go up in reverse with your palms facing down. Pin the pinky, thumbs go to the outside, come down, thumbs come to the inside, go up. Awesome. Okay, wrists are next. Wrists are particularly tricky because your brain has really connected the elbow and the hand together. So whatever you're trying to do with your hand, your elbow follows, which we want to undo right now. So you're going to point your wrist crease up to the ceiling, or sky if you're outside, and we want to keep your fingers from bending as well. So we're going to flex down, nice straight hand, as far as you can. Then you're going to come to the inside, back pointing up, to the outside, and then back down. If you're having a really hard time not rolling this bone, you can help yourself by just holding it still, but try to get off of this as a crutch. So do this for a little bit until you kind of get the circle down, or sort of circle, and then get rid of the assistance. So again, 2 each way. There you go. All right, that's it for upper limb.